And joining us now is Jeh Johnson, former Department of Homeland Security Secretary during the Obama administration, former General Counsel for the Defense Department or in the earlier administration. Jeh, no former U.S. president has been charged with a crime, so it would seem likely that the Justice Department would want, an airtight case. You're a former prosecutor. Talk to me about what the stakes are, and does this report jam them a little bit by being so high profile? With so much information. It's not evidence, but it's information, and it's a lot of testimony. Does that make it harder for them?
Without a doubt, the report puts political and public pressure on the Department of Justice to do something. In my view, what happened on January 6th was the very definition of an insurrection. And as the committee pointed out, inciting an insurrection, giving an aid and comfort to an insurrection is a criminal offense. What the Department of Justice is focused on and what it needs to be focused on, can we prove these things against Donald Trump and John Eastman with admissible evidence? You need to prove criminal intent. You need to prove what Donald Trump did, what he thought, what he said, what he heard through firsthand admissible evidence. You can't prove a criminal case in federal court through excerpts of videos. Criminal defendants have a right to confront their witnesses and cross-examine their witnesses. So the Department of Justice, I'm sure, gets the big picture of what happened here, but they need to be focused on how to prove a case and how to obtain a conviction through admissible evidence.
Does the fact that they are going to release transcripts tomorrow, which some former prosecutors have told me is really troubling to DOJ, create more problems because potential witnesses can then compare notes, align their stories, and it makes it that much harder?
Yes, it makes the job more complicated. Prosecutors like to have a monopoly over the evidence, the testimony, but it's been done before. We've had criminal prosecutions stemming from public proceedings, public hearings, so it's not impossible at all.
Give me your gut check in watching what was reported yesterday and what we know of the report itself from that executive summary. What kind of job did they do? And do you think a good prosecutor like Jack Smith, is going to be able to get the goods and would likely end up indicting the president for one of these charges?
That's a good question. My view is this, Andrea. I think it's in the national interest, and it goes to the credibility of our law enforcement that DOJ not simply go for the easiest offense to prove, not simply hang their hat on what happened at Mar-a-Lago. It's in the national interest that we call this for what it is. This was an insurrection, and from what I see, Donald Trump incited it. He gave aid and comfort to it. He lit the match. He watched the conflagration. And let's not forget, he was the commander-in-chief of all the firemen. He had the ability to call in the National Guard to do something about this and was derelict in his failure to do so. So if there are to be criminal charges here, I really hope that it goes to the essence of what really happened here.
That there has to be some accountability for something as unprecedented, grave, and really threatening to the Constitution as
absolutely
trying to upset the normal transition, the peaceful transition of power. If I could impose on you to turn to the border for a moment because of your vast experience at Homeland when you were Homeland Secretary. Chief Justice John Roberts placed that temporary hold on the lower court ruling that would have ended Title 42.
Yep.
So now, that would have made it easier, of course, for the government to turn away people attempting to end the country. Senator Mitt Romney just tweeted, quote, that the Biden administration has dealt with the crisis at our southern border with raging incompetence. Our overwhelmed border communities and country at large cannot afford their lack of attention. Title 42 must be kept in place to help stem the tide of illegal immigration. How do they get out of this fix?
Andrea, I wish we had another 30 minutes. So the problem
we have to do that, Jay.
The problem is way bigger than what I dealt with when I was in office 7-8 years ago. Let's start with that. The reality I learned is that illegal immigration is an information-sensitive phenomenon. It reacts to perceived changes in enforcement policy on our southern border. Right now, the messages being sent by the U.S. government to Central America and elsewhere is a jumbled mess. The courts have become way too involved in what has traditionally been a policy, a mission that the political branches perform. One day Title 42 is on, the next day it's off. One day migrant protection protocols are on, then they're off. DACA is a jumbled mess. And so the courts have gotten way, way too involved in this. Long term, we need Congress to act. We need the executive branch to send a clear, coherent message. There's a right way and a wrong way to come here. If you come here the wrong way, we will send you back, consistent with our laws and our values. I used to say that all the time.
Well, you're right. We need another 30 minutes, and we will do that. And thank you. Thank you for everything you've done
Happy
and
holidays.
for your expertise, and happy holidays to you and your family.